Hey everybody, and welcome to another day of 30 Days with Galactics. This here is Oberon from Oberlyx, both spelled with O's, pronounced a little bit differently. He has a channel, a written channel on my website that goes into the details of what he said. He is not a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot. The drawing does not look like him at all. I don't know why, but it just came out this way, is the way he wanted it. So he looks like a silverback gorilla without kind of the silver and that sort of thing, and kind of a more advanced gorilla in a sense. Now, they are not gorillas the way we have gorillas. They are genetically altered. What he had said is they have this planet, and beings had come to Earth and had enjoyed the gorillas, the apes, those types of species. And then they had a world that they could seed and test and play with. So they took some gorillas, they went over to that world, they dropped them down, they altered their genetics, and poof, left them there. Now, what he said is that they don't actually know who did it. Their society has advanced to a level that you could call them almost like ancients. They're a group of beings who have been around for a long time like us, and it's their connection with whoever created them is long gone. Now, he said what they do know is they were long-headed, I believe if I remember right, like bluish purple. So they're probably like some sort of Arcturian or other type of race who was playing with genetics and dropped them down. And he showed me his world. So for just a refresher, when I talk to these beings, I don't just talk to them. A lot of people channel them and they just say the words and speak the words. I travel to them and I can see through their eyes. So astrally, I can travel to them, and then I can also see through their eyes, share memories, all of that, and even feel what they're experiencing. If you have seen the video about Two Clout, I talk about how he's eating, and like I can feel him eating and crunching and hearing the sounds and that. So when I went to Oberon, he was a being who had been kind of pinging me for a while when I started the 30 Days of Galactics. And my guides bring these different beings here and there, and he was waiting for me to talk. And I finally sit down and talk to him, and I see a beautiful lush jungle. It's darker. It's a darker sky, maybe a twilight world. I don't know. I don't remember if he said that or not. It's not really, doesn't feel connected right now either to me as I talk. But anyway, it was a beautiful jungle, darker sky, pyramid out in the distance, and some what looked like ancient buildings, what we might call, would call them a mix of Egyptian buildings and Aztec buildings when Aztec was at its height. Now, when I say Aztec too, keep in mind the stories of the Aztec have been greatly fiction or twisted. I've seen the Aztec civilization, and I've read a lot of the journals, not a lot of them, I've read the journals, like books that compile them type of thing, of the Spaniards in that, and what we're told is actually false. What they experienced in those stories tells that the Aztecs were far more advanced than the Spanish ever were to begin with, and they just conquered them through sheer will. And so take those two cultures, kind of combine the buildings. That's kind of what you have: pyramids and these muddy sand structures in the middle of the jungle. And the pyramids were like our pyramids, energy centers, healing centers, multiple functions. That's the thing. A lot of people, we try to say, oh, the pyramids were used for one thing. They're actually used for a lot of different things, and it can depend on the type of the pyramid, where it's at, all that sort of thing. So the cool thing about his society is that they are these gorillas who are much more like us in their level of consciousness and advancement as far as being able to have technology and tools and all this stuff. He was wearing clothing. They made clothing. And he was just sitting there. If I remember right, he was eating like an apple, or not an apple, but something like an apple while we were talking. And he was sitting there telling me about his society and showing me like, hey, see that temple over there? There are no walls. There are no doorways. There are no borders. Anybody can enter that pyramid, that temple, that building. The places that they have, nature, these animals they have can walk through them, can go wherever they want to. There are no limits or boundaries placed on their physical spaces. And that was the interesting thing that he had a message about, was that humans, the way we live, fence everything. I mean, the people fence their yards, their houses. They fence everything, which cuts nature off, which cuts people off, which creates division. It literally creates a physical dividing line and says, you are not allowed here. You are not here. You know, it separates in a way that creates hierarchies and all this. And then it ruins the natural energies of the space. So if you're in a natural space in a forest, it doesn't really matter where it is. If you put up a fence, that affects the ability for the wildlife to thrive. It affects the ability for the property to thrive with the things that it needs naturally coming back and forth. Or if you think of like the fence between Mexico and the US, one of the big problems is that it blocks butterflies, monarch butterflies, and other things from passing through their migrational areas, the migrational spaces they need to exist in. So fences are not good. They're not good in a physical sense. Now, boundaries are good in a spiritual sense, having a boundary and placing that so that you can firmly exist in a space of peace and honor yourself. That's different. But boundaries, as far as physical boundaries, as far as fencing and things that divide, actually cause more problems than they do unity, actually create more division. So it was fascinating to watch his culture as he showed me. He goes, you know, they're living there. These people, these gorilla humanoid people, yep, they're just living there in that temple. And I go, it's not like a, you know, religious site, which, first of all, religion doesn't really exist among most of these beings. A lot of them understand the term. Some of them will ask for clarity about what you mean, and some of them just don't even know. They're like, the concept is so foreign that they don't understand it, because religion is a control structure brought down to control humans, and it doesn't exist in a lot of other places. Spirituality is different. Now, when I speak of religion, I'm not speaking of the spiritual aspect of religion. I'm speaking of the dogma, the written books, going to a temple, going to a church, making sure you're praying to a specific being, and fear-based tactics, all that stuff. They don't have any of this. The places that they use that we would think of as temples, as pyramids, as all these things, they're living in. They live in those spaces. They exist in those spaces. And the animals can walk through freely, the insects, everything. It's just oneness with the environment, and utilizing the buildings and technologies they have to the fullest, not just separating them out and being like, okay, we have a house, now nothing can be here except for the people living here. It's the complete opposite. It's true unity with the beings of the planet, and that, I feel, is his biggest message that he had brought. There are others in that channel that you can find. That was Oberon from Oberlyx, and he is on my website at awakenwithwillow.com. Again, thank you for sticking with me. These are going to start posting more soon. If you feel like supporting the journey, feel like a nudge towards a spirit art reading or divine counsel transmission, or even just a donation tip, you can find those resources on my website, or just comment and I'll send you a link. I love you all. Thank you all. Grateful for each and every one of you.